back to another episode of Deca Debrief. Uh, wow, what is after that?
I don't know. You just keep going until you get it if you want to. I don't care. I've got all day. You need
Uh,
to cut something to it.
Today on the podcast, we've got YinYarn. Say hi, man.
What's up, Bobby?
It's one of my best friends in the whole world, and no one can take him from me.
It's okay. I don't want to go anywhere. You're good, man.
Let's go. First thing I want to hit on seasonals. Seasonals. How have you been enjoying the new seasons?
You know, I haven't really started playing again recently until you invited me. Like, how long has it been? Like, it's been several
It,
weeks since I really started getting addicted again.
it's been like 2 months, and it was all because of Goodman and Kate and Loki sitting in the voice chat.
Yeah, those if it was a couple months, and those months have passed by like crazy because it's you know what, it probably has been a couple months. My brain just has dissolved while I've been playing this game. But I mean, I came back playing seasonal because it was the new thing, and yeah, I mean, I like it. It's fun. I just I kind of wish that my vault space was still 1,000 plus and not like 16. But that's
Yeah,
about the one thing, along with the potion vault. Yeah, it's that can be a problem sometimes.
no, 100%. Like having to stop every 20 minutes to drink potions on your other character, having all these STs you really don't want to throw away, and QTs and whatnot, and 16 slots just isn't enough. I wish
Yeah.
they'd let you like purchase them earlier in the season, because I know mid-season they usually have a box for it, but it would be nice to at least be able to like buy more chest slots because I'm in dire need of them. I keep having to make new seasonal characters and putting backpacks on them just for storage space, which isn't the worst thing in the world, I guess.
Right. I mean, for me, and I'm sure a lot of different vets that have been playing for a long time probably are in the same boat where, I mean, we've spent how much money on this game buying vault space and character slots in the past. And I mean, thank God that the character slots go over. But when it comes to vault space, I mean, having that much normally and then being shrunk down to like an anthill worth of space is just insane. Plus, it just, it kind of sucks because then you also are looking to get like shinies and doing all this crazy stuff. So you're running dungeons over and over again, like Sprite World, and you'll just be stacked on dexterity. Like, hey, I've got 16 of my 16 potion vault stacked with dexterity, and now I either need to make a new character to drink it, or I need to go make a random wizard and pass it over to my main account. It kind of gets annoying to do that every time. So I wish that they'd make a way to easily pass stuff from seasonal to non-seasonal.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Every time I overfill on something that I know I need on my main vault, like I always make a character like move over like 8 slots worth of items and potions, and then I have to do it again and again and again, and it gets really annoying. Like enough that it makes me not want to play seasonal when I'm trying to max like dexterity on trickster from my main vault, something like that.
Right.
I feel like there would be other. One of the things that I really hated about last season, because it's only like season 5, or we're on season 6 right now, so they've kind of had time to think this over. I really hate how the seasonal potion vault expander only expands it by 4 fucking slots.
Yeah.
So you go from 16 to 20, and it's like what? Like
Thanks,
what?
Deca.
What's even the point?
It's like, yeah, I've run 4 more snake pits, and yeah, I think I'm done for the day. I'll log out now.
Yeah.
That's all we needed, right? Just 4 more. It does suck because when you look at how the normal potion vault grows, what, they double it every time until you eventually get to, I think it's what, 256 or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so you go immediately from 16 to 32. Here it's here's a nickel, and it's like thanks, Deca. That's awesome, man. And plus, I think I had already had some ROM gold, so I didn't have to spend any whenever I bought it. But I noticed that there's some real monetization going on with it, especially with the vault space, because they don't give you more than 2 rows, and then you have to spin with realm gold to actually get more. And it's luck whether you get 1, 2. It's like, why am I stuck with that now? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I was late to it, but I rolled once, and I was like, okay, well I got 1, so whatever. I'm not lucky. I got 1 because of course those boxes are never in your favor, which I've mentioned that before. It kind of sucks, but it's odd because you'll spin it, do it once, and from what I could tell, you could only spin once. Maybe you could spin twice, and I was just late to it, and it just closed almost as soon as I did it. But I'm not sure. I was only able to spin once.
I mean, personally, I'd honestly, if they made some kind of like, you remember the beginner pack when you first started playing Realm of the Mad God?
Yeah, it's a good pack.
Yeah, I'd like something like that where it maybe expands it by 2 slots and you get an extra character slot for like $10 or whatever. Like I'd be willing to, it's quite a bit of value. I feel. What even is a starter? It's like 2 character slots, 3 vault chests for like $10, I think. Right?
Yeah, it was something big. I have not seen it for a good while, but I do remember it being a good. It actually is a good value, good on Deca for adding that in, but I can't remember exactly. You know what? It beats it beats back in the day whenever you would have what? Do you remember the old vault where you had like 40 chests and each time you opened it you got like an infusion and it would pop open a random vault and then there's 8 more slots for you. It wasn't a big massive vault like we've got now.
Yeah. For people like you and Hayes who went like over the amount of chests you could have too, having to like rotate them by leaving the vault and going back in. And the same thing for the gift chests. You remember your gift chests being like just insanely stacked with fucking dies and stuff. And so you'd have to like leave, go back in, leave, go back in to like rotate them from like newest to
Yeah,
oldest to yeah.
I almost forgot about that. Yeah, I do remember that. That was awful.
Yeah. You know what? I'll give Deca this. The quality of life stuff that they've added to the game, like that and the switching pet families using fame and like unlocking skins instead of having to like pop a pet skin and being like, oh, well now it's permanently gone, you know?
Yeah, it's nice that they've been adding this stuff. I just wish that some of these bugs that they've got going on with the vault just didn't exist. Like I don't have you heard about that whole thing with the seasonal vault not entirely passing over correctly? Like some people have been missing items.
Yeah, I actually ran into that issue with the battle pass because I was trying to claim battle pass items. And every time it happens, you have to restart your entire game, which I don't know, isn't a huge deal. Maybe you're talking about something different.
It's just for apparently whatever you had in your seasonal vault, like from what I could read on the Reddit, which I know God bless me for visiting that spot, but they for something like the vault, apparently some of the items that were in the seasonal vault just didn't hop over to that new seasonal vault that they've got, like the red one that comes into your non-seasonal.
Oh, the seasonal spoils?
Yeah, the seasonal spoils. Apparently some people are missing items that should have been in there, from what I've read.
You see, I didn't get the seasonal spoils because I pulled everything preemptively, expecting Deca to do something stupid and lo and behold.
Yeah, you know, God bless them, but yeah, dude, something about the vault they just cannot get down. There's always some bug in the vault, whether it be, I don't even know if this is a bug per se, but you know how every time you get like a new skin and you pull it out and it says please re-enter it, it's like, dude, why do I have to do this every single time?
It's just one of those minor inconveniences that just shows you that they're not very good at patching even like the smallest of bugs.
Yeah,
I mean,
have you had that thing happen where you take I think it's like marks or something out of your vault or anything really, and then you go into the what's it called? The place where you trade the marks
the
for
daily
chests
quest room.
Yeah,
and then they're gone from your inventory, and you have to you go back to your vault, and then they show up all of a sudden.
we love Realm of the Mad God. If it wasn't for the bugs, it would lose its character. It's a feature.
It really would. I mean, there's so many things that we've just like learned to live with for the longest time, like 10-minuted DCs where you just kind of, you get a count and use. You can't play for 10 minutes. For some people, yeah, still have. And for some people, it's gotten worse for some people. Like I noticed, like Kate and Goodman had that thing where it says that you're banned from the game and you just can't play for like the rest of the day, and you get on tomorrow and it's fine for some reason. And it's just like, why is this even an issue? Why can't they like fix this? Don't they want people to play their game?
Yep, it's the same. It's a way more egregious version of an existing connection. It's like an existing connection, but they literally tie you up and throw you out of the train. Like they don't even let you play at all. It's like nope. Maybe it's something like Big Brother is watching and they realize that you're too addicted and they don't want you to die, so they say no more like we're not allowing you this.
I was doing a chain of like 50 cults yesterday. I didn't actually do 50 cults, but I decided to join them for about like 10 of them. And somewhere around like the fifth one that we went into, for some reason the dungeon started lagging for everyone. And then we go into the next portal and it just DCs everybody and everybody gets 10 minuted. And it's just like this group of like 20 people is now can't play the game for 10 minutes. It's like, why does this stuff
Uh,
happen?
yeah, it's Deca and bugs kind of go hand in hand at this point, and I understand that they were handed spaghetti when they first got the game. Like they're trying to turn spaghetti into like rong kanfu, like they're trying to actually make it something fancy and crazy. But God bless them for attempting it, and they've done a good job so far. I think, in my opinion, it seems like they've gotten a lot done. But man, there's still a long way to go. They need to just, like I've been saying for a while now, they need to just take like half a year. I don't care if it even takes a whole year. Just focus on the inner workings of the game. Like just figure out like all these glitches, these bugs, just patch them and just make it better, because at this point, new players that come into the game and see that stuff, the stuff we take for granted, like all that, like they're not going to be as lenient. So I feel like that's one of the reasons why people aren't sticking as much. There's still definitely people sticking, but they need to just get rid of these issues so they have a stronger, viewer base and people that actually want to play, versus saying, okay, I played for 5 minutes, I got 10 minuted. Is this just the game? And then they quit.
Yeah, like that'll be an instant turn off for a lot of new players. Especially
Mm-hmm.
seeing the bots in the Nexus is like that's one of the things that I complain about the most when I first started playing the game, because I joined a little bit late. I started playing about 6 years ago, which is it's weird, but it's considered late for this game because a lot of people, like most of the players in this game, have started playing like 8, 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah, I've noticed that, especially with I think there was some poll that was also cast on the Reddit at some point, which once again I know God bless my soul, but I remember checking the poll and it said, "How old are you to this game?" I was expecting people to vote like, recent. No, most of the people, maybe it's just on the Reddit, I don't know, but most of those people have been playing this game for a long time. So it's crazy looking at people that have been here like 9, 10 years and are still here. I mean, I'm at 12 years. I'm one of them, but it's crazy saying that I'm not the only one, and far from it.
Oh, far, far from it. The people I see around, the people that I know the like probably the best in this game are like people who have been here for a very, very long time. I've seen a lot of returning veteran players too, like playing around yesterday in EU West, I think it was. I saw BTEL and GHCD just chilling the Nexus, playing in the realm.
GHD and BTEL, man, that's those
Yeah,
are two names that what is BTEL? That's the 3 letters, right?
yeah, BTL.
Yeah. See, I keep thinking BTEL. I was gonna say four letter 4 words, but it's crazy to me that they even still play at all. I know GHDD still did, but I have not. He obviously doesn't upload much anymore. Not like I can relate to that. But he hopefully starts making content again at some point. That'd be kind of a nostalgic blast if all of us just started uploading again at one point. So some people maybe shouldn't upload, but just specifically, the people that are OGs, that'd be great.
Maybe Hayes is coming back too.
If I get on my knees and beg and squeal, there's a chance, but I wouldn't. With the way he's been going recently, I would not try to place any kind of bets on it. I think he's kind of happy where he currently is. I don't. He did enjoy Rome. However, I think he's a lot happier with where he currently is.
Yeah, like you really can't blame him. He's doing what he loves the most and making money off of it.
Right. Yeah. When it comes to OGs, I'm thinking like, I don't know who is considered like OG, but when I think of like the OGs of when I joined, I'm thinking, and I don't know if you remember names like this, but Pixel, Cake, McKellen, like even like Hennes as well. Like those are like the 4 top names I can think of. I think there was also a guy named like, it was either Clock or Clockwork or something like that. Like he was a guy that was famous for just being the Black Knight. Like he was always just a knight that wore black, and he was like this crazy good player. But I can't remember what his name was specifically. But these names just like I can't forget them for whatever reason. They're just for me they are the biggest of the OGs.
It's been so long. Somebody told me this story in Tide Army, but what was the full story on the Doka no Ken?
The Doku. Oh, I'm trying to remember myself. I actually can't remember. The only story I really remember that was like player based that was huge was the Dirk of Cronus. But the Doku, I can't remember. I think it was. I'm sure if I skimmed it at some point to like look back and kind of get a piece of that history again, I could remember. But now that I do remember there being something that had to do with the Doku, but I can't remember.
Yeah, it was similar to Sea Dirk, right? Like that's what I
Yeah.
remember it as, but I really can't remember anything of the story that I was told about it.
The rumor was with the Dirk of Cronus that Dirks were going to be super rare, that you basically couldn't get them anymore for whatever reason. People bought it and started selling and buying Sea Dirks at high prices, and Wild Shadow saw that, and they were like they had to basically tell people stop, it's a joke, like it's not actually gonna happen. So, but they made it, they put it into the game because back then the Cube God, like people don't remember this, or for the most part, or didn't play, but there were no white bags. The white bags did not exist. So things like Cube God, Skull Shrine, there was no whites. Like there were some untiered items that existed, like Extreme Prejudice Staff existed, Bulwark existed, but they all dropped in brown public bags. Like you just had to be the first person to get to it. It wasn't soulbound. It became soulbound later, but that was back when soulbound dropped in purple bags. No matter what, if you got soulbound, it was purple. There was no white. You'd get a purple soulbound bag, and it had your name underneath it. And then they
Hmm.
realized there was no reason to have your name underneath it because no one else could see it. So why have that? So they got rid of the naming portion of it, but they also decided to put it into tiers, and that's when the white bag came out. But I remember, I think around that time, they decided that the joke was so funny that they were gonna put a new super legendary powerful Dirk, and I think they gave it to the Cube God for some specific reason attached to the joke, but I can't remember why. I think one of the last projects that Wild Shadow did, if I'm not forgetting, was the Tomb of the Ancients. Like that was one of
Hmm.
the latter end things that they put out into the game before selling it off. Which, dude, I love Wild Shadow. I love their design. The art like was great. Like it's very bare bones, but there's a charm to that. Um, but it, dude, some of the it could just be the fact that I hate Paralyzed, but dude, Tomb of the Ancients, that design, I love to give them pat on the backs for most of their work. Tomb of the Ancients, I go tell them to go suck themselves off because holy crap, I cannot dig what they did with that. Scarabs, lions
Scarab.
that shoot out paralyzed shots, uh, just all that crap. Just paralyzed in general, though. If they could just replace that with like, even if it was just curse, sure, just not paralyzed. That is a very outdated thing.
I'm not a huge fan of the jackals either. You remember the old days where you could sit on top of a jackal and just get one shot? It
Yeah,
still kind of exists. The only reason that nobody complains about it is because nobody runs Tomb of the Ancients.
yeah. There's people that want life pots now will usually run other stuff. I mean, look at Oryx 3. Like
Yeah.
it's
Just
just a
like
given.
sit in US Northwest, go clear a realm to like 10 rems, wait for an O3 and just go profit. Like,
Right.
because chances are, with all the people that are constantly running O3, they're always trying to scout for a realm that has like a low amount of rems. So if you just go on a trickster, a ninja, or rogue, go solo clear a realm, eventually some O3 is just gonna barge in your fucking realm. Get a couple guild mates and clear a realm. You'll get a guaranteed O3.
Yeah, that's even what was happening with me in that latest video I posted. You can see me on my rogue doing the O3. It's literally just because I was playing by myself, low pop realm, low population server, and just by the time I got it down to like 9 rems, there's someone that is of course leading some kind of Discord, and they invite their entire group over to the party. So good on them.
Yeah. Well, at least you get a free O3 out of it, even if you don't get the solo play.
Right.
Plus, you got Banner and Leviathan out of that on your first run for your PPE. It's pretty massive.
Yeah, that was really nice. I mean, that it's unfortunate that rogue died, but
Yeah, I heard. What did you die to?
oh three. Go figure. Out of everything that I could die to, of course that's gonna be the thing that gets me. It's either that. I've noticed most of my deaths consist of either Forgotten King, Umi, or O3, which, you know what? Go ahead, blame me for that. I'm dying to the hardest stuff that's in the game.
How did you end up dying to O3 anyway?
I was just being stupid. There was like me and like 8 other people left, and I was trying to do damage on a Splendor phase where I went right, left, down, and because I was already low HP, I wanted to back up because I wanted to get out of there, obviously, instead of going up where there was that hole. But I tried to back out and I wasn't fast enough and I just got popped.
Oh, did he just do like shield bashes beforehand? So there were like lingering shots?
It was I'd have to look back at the footage, but it was definitely just I got low. And I'm pretty sure because those Splendor pops are so massive, it just like the end of one managed to hit me before I could get out completely, and I was already at like 100 HP before I was leaving it.
Yeah, just like a little panic moment and you got hit by a stray bomb or pet stasis.
Yeah, and of course, me being super duper hard headed, I just decided not to leave. Even though
I
I
mean,
was sickened.
I do the same thing. I've died to Splendor a couple of times on some really good characters. My wizard's one of them. I had like a cracked out 4/4 wizard PPE from the last time I played before, maybe about a year ago when I started playing again, and then I immediately quit like a couple weeks after. But I ended up getting a really crazy wizard PPE, and then I lost it to a Splendor because I had my screen rotation wrong. It was completely upside down, so I tanked like 2 or 3 second bombs, and I'm like, oh, all right. And then I go to the next one, get hit by a stray pet stasis shot or two, and then from there it was just like, I'm not gonna Nexus, I can make this next gap, and then I just die.
Yeah, I mean, when you get a boss down that low and you've been there for like a solid 15, 20 minutes, you're like, I just want to get my loot, man.
Yeah.
I don't care if I die. I just want to at least know that I tried. There comes a point where your brain just says you can't hit the whatever your Nexus key button is.
Mm-hmm. Especially in smaller groups or solo. Like I was doing a solo O3 this one time, and I was on my Huntress, and I managed to almost push him to Exalted, but I ended up Nexusing just out of instinct, but I was really committed to I'm gonna die trying since I have this solo O3 to myself.
Oh, were you doing dance phase?
Yeah, dance is rough.
I think people don't give dance phase enough credit. That phase is actually scary.
Yeah, no. Between Exalted and Dance, I'd rather have Exalted 100%. Even Heavens, well, no. I mean, it really depends because Heavens can be finicky in a solo, and I've never done a solo Heavens.
I've noticed Heavens tends to screw you over if he just happens to be doing a bad phase at the wrong time when Heavens are coming down, and it like backs you up into a corner or something like that, and you have to either choose between tanking a beam or tanking one of his shots, and typically you're going to be tanking the beam because you just want to be anywhere that's not next to him.
Like, say you have Converging or Split from Middle, and then you also have, like, Fury Melt, for example. That one, I really don't like that combination.
Yeah, Heavens and Meteors is also, like, one of those combinations that just sucks because you can't really see all the circles.
Oh, yeah. Really overstimulating, too, and it can sometimes just get me, like, kind of anxious for the rest of the fight just because it's such a high octane phase.
Well, it's one of those things where, if one meteor happens to land on you, you've lost a character.
Yeah, 100%. It's just like there's just too much going on in that moment. So it's super hard to pay attention to the meteors, while at the same time you have to pay attention to the meteors.
Yeah, portals going around, beams, if you get it down low enough, plus meteors, it's a lot.
Yeah, way too busy of a combination for sure. I hope that fight gets changed a little bit.
They've tried. People apparently just keep complaining about it, though. I mean, I don't know whether or not it's warranted or not, but from the sounds of it, uh, people, especially higher end discords, were mad because they couldn't just keep making Oryx like a pinata because they kept just hitting him with so much firepower that he basically was not able to do any attack whatsoever. And some people refused to fight him because of that. And I'm like, that's kind of stupid. Like what he
I
was
can
never supposed to be this thing you just sit on. Like
for
that's
sure.
so dumb.
I, the reason I don't like it is because say you get a phase like Control or Fate or Gaze, which are typically phases you don't want to do because it's just there's too much weakness going around. There's too many high damage shots where you can't go close to him unless you're like a wizard or a wand class. And
Right.
so phases like that where he just plays it out like, you hit the damage threshold for that phase. Okay, now he's going to be invulnerable and he's going to still be doing the phase that everybody hates. So everybody's just going to stand on the corner on the other side of the room for like 15 seconds until he finishes and then starts his next chain or whatever. That's what people are complaining about, and I can kind of stand by them on that one. I think invulnerability phases, we don't need them. We really don't need them. They
Yeah.
just make everything take so much longer. I'd rather have
There's
him steamrolled if I'm being honest, but there's different ways they can go about this fight, making it harder without having to make you stand there for another 10 to 15 minutes watching him dance.
Yeah, that's been a problem I've seen with the game for it feels like forever now. I mean, I made it even a joke to it in my Warrior video when I talked about the Puppet Master, just sitting there watching Invulnerable for a solid 20 seconds before something happens is not exactly peak gameplay.
Yep. That's why I love the hidden interregnum, because once the Wanderer comes out, she just sits there and talks for 30 fucking
Yeah,
seconds, and you just have to wade through it.
she's just giving you lore.
I,
She wants to read you a storybook. That's the boss fight.
I appreciate the lore, but can we skip this? We can skip Craig. Can we skip her too?
Can we talk about for a second why the interregnum or however you pronounce it is 9 gravestones, and the
Yeah.
shatters is what? How many?
8.5, I
Love
think.
that.
Yeah.
It's
This
just watch any YouTube clip of the Forgotten King fight in a solo, and then maybe the hidden or whatever thing it's called.
interregnum, yeah.
Yeah, that back to back, and then just tell me if you think one is an 8.5 and the other should be a 9.
I love that because Void is an 8 is Void an 8.5?
Mm,
Yeah, I think Void's an 8.5.
I think it
Shatters is
is.
an 8.5. Oryx 3 and Interregnum are both 9 grave.
Now, I think if you're doing a Void solo, it's worth the 8.5. But that's if you're weird enough to do that. I don't know why
But
you'd
that's
want to
because
do a
that
Void solo.
boss is designed by Kid Force and
Yeah.
Toasters, and it has this stupid DPS like hurdle.
Yeah,
What are they called?
a DPS check.
Yeah, the stupid DPS check with the freaking minions. Me trying to, because remember when we were duoing it, and I was on my knight, and I was trying to solo finish like the rest of the boss. 12 shotguns is really hard with the minion timings when you have one platform. I hate the platform split. I like the fact that it encourages people to run them in kind of like a raid, like you would in WoW raids, but it it shouldn't be impossible to solo. I'm sure people can. So I'm sure Sebchuf has some like extremely like high min max strat to be able to solo void every time or something. But I don't think that's the way the game should be designed for.
So I'm fairly certain. I'm like 99% sure I did see a video of someone soloing it. However, I think that player was Japan, and I don't think Japan leaves his house. So
Yeah,
I,
like
it's,
go figure. It's like
yeah.
I think BTEL might have a solo void. I'm not certain, but he probably has a solo void from like Flash era, I imagine, because he's BTEL's that kind of player.
Yeah, no disrespect to either of them. I mean, BTEL's just kind of been doing crazy crap for God knows how long. But there does come a point to where you're like, dude, just like go to the park, man. like just go outside, smell like pick the daisies real fast, man. It's not that big of a deal. Just get some fresh air.
Well, speaking of raid discords and such, how about incentives for guilds? Because they were promising incentives for guilds a long time ago. And what they ended up coming up with was fucking guild keys, where you get to hit a chest, get a mystery die, and then go into the dungeon, and you spent an extra 100 gold on the key for no reason.
Yeah, oh, I forgot about that. I still have a fungal mushroom key. Yeah,
Same.
or a guild one. I
Uh,
completely forgot about that.
yeah, I don't think. I'm gonna imagine no one liked them because I haven't seen them in a while.
They it's weird, right? Because they existed and they were like it's cool to get a constellation prize. The constellation prizes, however, were just so minuscule that
Mystery
no one
die,
cared.
mystery stat pot.
Yeah.
Uh, 1/15th of an ST chest piece. Like a loot tier potion. Like what?
Yeah, it just wasn't worth it. At that point, it just felt better to just buy standard keys and just pop them for like a server or something.
Yeah, I wasted 15 seconds for a mystery stat potion. Like, man.
They need to do something about the whole Discord meta. I don't understand it either. I understand that it's people run it because they might not be good enough to do a solo, but I think what most people would find is that if they were to try an O3, a Shatters, whatever, with like 5, 6 people, they could do it. Because I don't think people understand that the HP scaling with 6 people just drops the HP way, way down. Way down. Like it's possible to do damage.
Because I know the HP scaling is built in a way where it's supposed to make guild runs like kind of more efficient. They're faster, they're safer because the faces end sooner. But there needs to be proper incentives for guilds because no one ever plays with guilds anymore. Like, for example, Nolan's guild is just made of people that RL or join RL runs for like O3s and Lost Halls and such, and you really can't blame them for the O3 one because O3 is designed in a way where like how often do we get runes where the 5 or 6 or 7 of us can like pop them together? Not very often. I
Almost
know it's
never.
supposed I know it's supposed to be like rare so that O3s aren't happening constantly because the loot really is like really really good. But it's impossible to organize guild runs for an O3, at least for people like us. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple of guilds that do it out there, but most people have no other option but to run an O3 Discord.
Yeah, no, it is really hard. Even when I was playing on my rogue seasonal, I got all 3 runes somehow. Like I just, like I spent the day playing and I got all 3 runes, but that's just an out like that's the outlier, right? Like that's the best case scenario. That hardly ever happens. I don't
Yeah,
it is weird how runes feel like they are very rare to get. I'll get them every once in a while from like Penteract, Lost Sentinel, and I'll be like, holy crap, I haven't seen that in a while.
yeah. You got really lucky with that because I mean, you got that at like 2 or 2.5k fame. I'm on 7k fame on my seasonal ninja right now, and I haven't seen a single rune at all. I'd really like to get a couple so I can do like seasonal O3 runs.
It feels a lot of it is because people just clear events now because they have to. Like it feels odd for me to want to do if I see a Sphinx, I feel like I should go want to do I should want to do that Sphinx. But there'll be times where I need like 10 more decks and I just choose a sprite world over it because the chances of getting UTs are so low that it just feels like what's the point?
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's that rare that it feels like what I don't care.
And then
Like
on
what
top of people having schematics for event whites, it just eliminated any chance of anyone doing those when they could just do a fungal or a couple cults and then melt those down into a jug or an augmer, which there are blueprints for. You know,
right.
I think the seasonal fixes that a little bit, but not enough to make people want to do events. Every time there's an avatar, how many people really want tablet? There's 2 people at that avatar, and the realm has like 80 people in it in total. Like,
Yeah. I think the most of that has to do with the fact that Avatar is a awful thing to kill. It so much defense, so much HP. There's like 4 phases. Like I even when I see Avatar, I'm like screw that, and I just leave. I don't even bother just because the fight takes too long.
yeah, if there's 2 rems and there's I remember this one time. I don't remember if you were there. I think Goodman and I were playing together, and maybe one other person, maybe Kate or someone. It was Sammy. We were leveling, we were 8-8ing our seasonals, and then we saw an avatar stacked on top of a moonlight. We went to a different realm, went back to that realm later when the other ones like closed, and we did our like O2s and stuff. Come back. an hour later, the Moonlight and Avatar are still on top of each other.
To be fair, that could also be because that is an atrocious combo.
That
I've seen that
really
one
is.
time, and it is awful. That is one of the worst I've seen.
Oh yeah, hands down. And then to add insult to injury, once they'd cleared more of the, uh, the Ents and stuff, Lotl spawned on top of it. Nobody was doing that Lotl. 3 events on the same fucking. They need to fix that. That has to not be a thing.
Yeah, I think it's cool to see some events stacked because it feels odd and it's new and it's like holy crap, now I got to fight this combo of event god, so it's more of a challenge. But some of them are just ridiculous. Like Avatar Shrine, I think is the hardest in the game.
Hands down, 100%. Yeah, they're two of the hardest individually, and two of the ones that people typically don't want to do. There might be some people looking for Moonlights. I know you got me on that Moonlight grind. I love doing Moonlights now, but I'm not doing that Avatar to get to a Moonlight. Not that I can get to the portal in the first place.
Right. Yeah, it's
So,
even if you did do the Moonlight or if you killed one before the other, you're not doing that dungeon.
yeah.
You're just not unless you have like an Oreo.
Or what's the proc for Karas? How do you get the invulnerability from it?
You have to. I know you just have to get hit, but I can't remember what the HP threshold is for getting. Like it's a certain amount of damage. I think. Actually, no. I don't think it is. I think it's just when you get hit every 20 seconds. Because I remember in the Moonlight, you know how you get afflicted with pet stasis. You think you get hit, but you don't. It's just whatever the game is using to cause pet stasis.
Mm-hmm.
Like your character will make a sound, but you're not actually getting hit. Um, the game registers that as you still getting hit though, and it would proc my invulnerability.
Yeah, figures as much. Because there is that one where you know how you get hit with the pet stasis when you put down a chest.
Yeah.
If you put like that mistake gear on a character to get to 0 HP, and then you get hit by the pet stasis, it'll kill you. Just stuff like that, you know.
Does it still do that? They haven't fixed that?
No, of course not. We still can't move items in our inventory in the pet yard, bro.
You know, fair enough. I don't know why I bother. I want to have some kind of hope, you know.
Hope will
I,
only lead you to disappointment with Deca games.
like I said, man, like I'm Deca Games, bless their heart, but man, they need to do some stuff about just the inner workings of the game. Please, just take half a year to a year just fixing up all these little issues, please. It'll make the game so much better in the end. I don't care if we're dungeon lists for like new dungeon lists for 6 months. Just do it. Just pull the band-aid off.
I want to say the same thing, but honestly, me personally, I'd rather have like another dungeon that's well designed, like the Moonlight Village, over some of these small bugs. A 10-minute DCs being fixed would be really nice, but I really do like seeing new content in the game. It always keeps it fresh, and I am in love with the Moonlight Village and the Cogbold. They are great dungeons, some of my favorite by far. The only thing with Cogbold is that the clearing takes a little too long, and it feels like doing a fungal cavern, and we all know how many people like that dungeon.
Cogbold?
No. I mean both,
oh,
Cogbold and Fungal. Like,
yeah. I think Fungal is another example of one of the, like I said in the video, I think Fungal is another one of those examples of dungeons that just takes a little too long. Not only are you now doing Fungal, which you just beat the Crystal Worm Mother, which God bless, because that boss is still kind of a nightmare sometimes. But not only did you just finish that, now you have to do this Crystal Cavern.
I'll say this for the Discords. When you're running cults in a Discord, people will only do it when people are rushing it. And I get it, because the clear, it takes a little too long. If you're in a solo or duo, or you're just like playing with guild mates, usually you'll go for the clear because you don't want anybody nexusing for it. But in Discords, you shouldn't have to depend on rushers every time to do a cult run, because it saves so much time. The clearing time for endgame dungeons doesn't feel great. That's why I love the Moonlight. No clearing. Just go to the boss and do your thing.
It's just
you
there.
And you have a 10-minute time investment. If you got a Nexus, oh, big deal. You wasted like 5 minutes, whatever.
Yeah, and it's not even like I like dungeons where you get to like clear, obviously. I mean, if you're doing a UDL, nowadays people don't even bother. They just run to the boss. I mean, I do it too. But at least they have an option. and it's just funny because I think a lot of time it's just used for lower level players like 1/8s, 2/8s. You know, harder to rush on, especially if you're not familiar with the game. But a lot of those rooms just end up becoming like little obstacles. They just kind of you jump over the slimes. You literally run through a pack of mummies, and you're like, did something hit me? And you just get the Septavius. But the ones where you can't ignore the enemies, like Shatters, where you just can't unless you want to die, or if you're just extremely good at the game, which is very few amount of people. I'm not one of them, but the people that can do that, it's like 0.1% of the player base, like 0.001% of the player base.
Yeah, I was gonna say even less than point 0.1. Like, I wish more dungeons were rushable without being far too dangerous. But I guess that might be asking for too much to make the clearing, or the rushing the clear that easy. I don't know.
Think
It's a complicated situation.
I think it has to do with just the fact that these enemies that you have to clear typically either have invulnerability timers or they're disappearing or they have a high amount of defense or too much HP. I think because it's if I had to kill the enemies for like shatters and stuff, it feels like whenever I'm clearing those enemies, it takes a while.
Oh yeah, each one has like 100 defense, especially the stone minions. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
it's
exaggerating. They're not all 100 defense, but like it really feels like it.
yeah, and they probably shouldn't have that much. Like it really is just a matter of they're just a little over defensed and over HP'd. Like they need to reduce that at least by a bit.
Man, remember before they nerfed the clearing for first and second, where man, shatters even in discords would take like 45 minutes, which is just an insane amount of time sink for one dungeon to get a single attack exaltation and like a greater vid.
Yeah.
Like that first generation of the reworked shatters was fucking stupid. It just was not well designed at all.
Yeah, they tried to make it this extremely crazy hard thing, which it still is, but they made the clearing awful. Like it really was just take an eternity just to get to the first boss where then don't understand how to do the boss fight because it's brand new. What's that? Got petrified? All right, back to Nexus, back to square one. Let's go ahead and do the minions again, boys.
Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. I wish there was like more ways to practice the bosses because I need more practice on the accursed phases and carousels for Forgotten King, but I'm gonna have to dedicate like 20 to maybe 30 minutes depending on like what group I'm in, whether it's like with friends or in a Discord, because you know, I get in a bad spot during one of the accursed phases, or I'm just like not good at rotating with Abyss, so it's like, oh, I'm gonna have to Nexus here. Well, time to dedicate
Yeah.
another fucking 30 minutes to it.
I'll be honest. During both carousels, I've noticed that I typically just avoid attacking. I'll just let it go through and then just go for the next phase. It feels like it's not even worth it.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
if I happen to be dragging him and he's chasing me, I'll do damage, but I'm not going to go out of my way to try to make a beeline straight towards him because you'll
Oh, I
just
mean,
die.
big carousels, I fucking sit in the corner and leech. I'm not even bothering with that phase. Fuck
It's
big carousels, dude.
it's bad. It is very bad.
Yeah, it needs to be redesigned. Walled Garden's not as bad. I
No,
still have a little bit of trouble with it personally, but you know, you can get some good DPS off in that phase, and there's a lot of room to move.
right?
Just have to be careful. You have to be real careful, because if you run through the wrong intersection, you're getting popped.
Yeah, Forgotten King, Umi. I've told you before. I still consider them the two hardest fights in the game. I don't know who disagrees with me on that, but those two are just ridiculous. And I think Forgotten King really does come down to how many people you have with you. Because if it's just you by yourself and you're dragging that entire time, and there's no one to peel for you, or just like drag him off if you need it, or healing or damaging, that fight just lasts for so long. It feels good to do it, but man, just having those extra 2, 3 people with you makes a world of difference in terms of fight length and difficulty.
Oh yeah, especially patience. And I saw
Yeah.
you like when you were playing with Nolan at one time doing the duo hard mode shatters. That was really entertaining to watch because it was just like two people who you know are pretty good at the game, like coordinating what they're doing for each phase. You know, like he drags the bird, you do the DPS, he drags the bird, whatever, go back to balance, and then repeat. Like it was really nice seeing that. It's just really unfortunate that he ended up muting his mic by accident.
Yeah, that sucked. I didn't know what was going like what was happening. I followed him towards the edge during that one just because I thought, okay, well he's done this before, he knows where to stand, and he did. So I just stood there with him. But of course, the boss gradually tries to pull you towards him, but then explodes with all that ice. And I wasn't expecting it, and I nearly died. And I was like, well, thank God that I had Oreo.
Man, that would have been really nice to watch you guys duo the Forgotten King on hard mode. That would have been really nice to watch. He came so close to finishing the solo on Patience too. That was just so unlucky.
Unfortunately, patience phase on hard mode is what it lasts for 4 cycles instead of 3, which and you're exposed, which in Forgotten King fight 4 instead of 3 is it feels like an eternity. Like even just doing 3, you're like, please end, please, like now.
I really want to see you complete a hard mode. Maybe you and Nolan could do another one. I think that would be really fun to watch.
I'll have to try it again at some point. Problem with me is that I'll get into a Shatters and I'm like, yeah, I just want to get a normal complete, and I just won't even bother with hard mode just because it is cool. But at the same time, I know, especially for me who likes to kind of go in by myself, hard mode tablet room, yeah, I'm good. It's not happening.
All purple minions, man.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. I know myself. I already have a hard enough time with standard. Like purple's just not happening unless I'm cracked out of my mind or have divinity or something. It's not gonna happen.
I mean, even with Nolan having he had what, Sidearm and Valor, which are like the 2 best equips for Samurai in the game, and it was still really rough.
Yeah, he
got pretty close a couple of times. Yeah.
Problem is that a lot of those minions, even the standard ones, can just pop you. I mean, we've seen it with Judge. Like whenever I've been streaming or like recording, it's
that Judge fucked up your summoner that one time, and that was really funny for me, not for you.
It wasn't funny for me at the time just because I had incubation. Anytime I have a death words with incubation, I just immediately feel like this hatred. But thankfully, I don't play summoner as much. I still do a lot, but it's not. Let's just say I don't melt down stuff for incubations anymore.
Yeah, I see why. No, you make one and you die on it in 2 days every time, guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be like that. I mean, that's what happens with me every time I play ninja and get a kunai.
Oh, kunai, yeah, that's right. It took me a second to remember what that. Yeah, it's the crystal kunai, right? That's fantastic, by the way. I've noticed. I think it's slept on.
Yeah, well, I don't really think they get slept on, but yeah, I do think they're really good. I see people with it. I don't think it's slept on. I think it's that it's an ST, and people aren't going to go out of their way to do Crystal Caverns just for a single Ninja ST when they could go play any other class that's way better instead of Ninja, which is dependent on having a good ability to be playable.
Yeah, Fudge Ninja, man. I hate that class. Okay, I can't with the Ninja, dude. Starting it from 0-8 on a seasonal, it's almost 8-8 now. Like needs 8 more life pots to finish. I hate it. I have not enjoyed a minute of playing that class.
I got Rage Claws, so it's pretty, it's somewhat playable for me. I'm just somebody who enjoys Ninja a lot, even with its shortcomings. I mean, I used to play Assassin before the rework. I used to play Sorcerer before the rework, and Huntress, which were 3 of my favorite classes besides Necro and Wizard. And, once they got buffs, I was so happy about it. The tiered bows are great now. They're great. Sork is probably one of the best classes in the game right now, just because of what they did with the Shock Blast or the ability.
Yeah.
And Assassin having the damage buff when it uses poison, as well as the new STs, which are pretty cool. Where are our Katana class buffs?
Yeah, they need them. And I don't know if they just need katanas to be better or if they need the classes to be better, but there's something wrong with those classes, and I can't quite pin down what it is. I think I've noticed with Ninja, as I've been playing it, I've noticed that there's nothing that he does, in my opinion, there's nothing that he does that really stands out aside from the granted the speedy. But the problem is having high speed in Realm is not always the most valuable thing. Like think about Warrior, right? Whenever you hit the spacebar, you're doing double dexterity, so your damage is cracked. Like you're just doing so much damage. Ninja, if you have speedy, can help with some boss fights, not all of them, and in fact I'd say most of them it doesn't help, but with some it does. Like O3, I can say it could help because sometimes you do need to be fast to keep along with orcs. But once again, you could still do that with something like the warrior and just
Yeah.
speed yourself up and just stick to them and just do a
I
ton of
mean,
damage.
for me personally, O3 and Forgotten Sentinel. I've had a lot of good luck with Ninja just because when it's doing predictive shots, you don't even have to worry about trying to break its ankles. You can just fucking run the other direction, and it has a limited range on where it can jump for predictives.
Right.
So that's some of the things I like it for. Staying away from O3 during bad phases like Fate and Gaze. Other than that, yeah, those tiered abilities need a buff. Those stars need something because doing a single bit of 1,000 damage is really cool. If not for the fact that it's really hard to aim, the travel time sucks. It can only hit one fucking enemy.
Yeah. It's like, think about the poison, right? I've brought this up before. It's like you plague poison spreads a crazy area for what, 900 damage, which is 100 less, but it's an AoE and it gives you more damage to your weapon.
Yep,
Like, and the ninja throws a funny icicle, like a literal popsicle at someone one time and it's done.
that's it.
They need to do something with the tiered stars because right now they're just awful.
It's the same thing with Kensei. Kensei especially. No, Kensei's ability is so dog shit. Man, I was so excited for the Kensei release because I saw it during testing. I thought it was really cool that you could chain slash through enemies to like get your buff and then, slash out. You get your three and you could chain them to each other so that like the invulnerability stays for all three slashes. They took that away and it made the Kensei one of the worst classes in the game. Add that back or change the ability, like the way it works, because right now Kensei is in the fucking garbage can, and I love katana classes, so it makes me sad that one of the most mobile katana classes, especially one that's like fast and good for rushing, has to be one of the worst classes in the game.
Yeah, it feels like right now the Kensei is good at one thing, and that is leeching. Because you can just keep going invulnerable with its spacebar ability. In fact, I think that's why most people use this for leeching. But you still, even aside from that, you just never see Kensei ever. I don't think there's ever been a time where I've been in a realm and I see more than one, and that should say a lot, especially to a class that's supposed to be brand new, and only like two people in your game are playing it. That says a lot.
Plate class, by the way, and with Annihilation, you only have like 56 defense. You could just play, like, honestly, if you play Paladin, it's the same thing, just without Pierce, but your ability is actually useful now.
Right, you give it to your whole party.
Yep. Same stats. They have generally the same stats. They're a little bit different. I think there's more vitality on Kensei or something.
It's funny speaking about Paladin. I think Paladin actually is. It's not at the top. I think that belongs to Summoner, but I think Paladin is one of the best classes in the game at the moment.
For me personally, I think Summoner's really up there, especially with UTs.
Yeah, Summoner is just busted.
Then Wizard and Knight. I mean, each class has its own strength, right? So it's like, if you're running endgame dungeons like Lost Halls and Fungals, well, Sorcerer is very, very good, if not the best class for clearing dungeons like those, because you can clear extremely fast with the Shock Blast.
Right.
Then for dungeons like Lost Halls, if you want to rush the pots, sure, like Trickster. I've never seen anybody rush on Ninja. I don't think anybody's willing, but rushing on Trickster for, each class has its strengths in its own sense, especially Trickster for O3. If you're doing something like Luke Oryx, it just makes the fight significantly easier to have somebody with a 2-6 Prism that can just stop him from throwing carrots or the boomerang shots, especially. That one can get a little finicky sometimes if the second shots are still out.
Oh, yeah.
Every class has its own strengths and weaknesses. The only thing is, where are the katana class's strengths? There's no dungeon that I think of where I'm like, man, I want a ninja here. I want a kensei. I want a samurai. No, I don't want those. I'd rather have somebody bring a wizard and just do more damage. Why bring these classes?
I've noticed what they tried to do in the beginning with ninja is they made it so that the katana pierces, and that was the highlight, right? They wanted to make what's essentially a melee weapon with pierce. But in a lot of endgame stuff nowadays, piercing doesn't matter a whole lot. It can matter at clearing void stuff. That's a good place to use it. But think about when do you use piercing at Forgotten King aside from maybe clearing during like skull phase? Like when does that piercing really shine aside from that?
Even during Skull, I mean, it might knock out a couple extra minions and help out a bit, but you don't need it. You're focusing the eyes.
Right.
If you're playing something like a knight which doesn't have, let's say you don't have a divinity or an escutcheon, just you're just gonna smash those fucking eyes and then just do your rounds. It
Yeah.
helps a little bit, but you're definitely not going out of your way to maybe I should use the Drake Fire Sword here. That might be better. Like,
It's
but if
no
you have
one
a
does it.
divinity, might as well use it because it's fucking broken.
Yeah, I mean, divinity is divinity. It's no one's even. I don't think anyone's even debated if that sword is really like strong or not. It just is hands down.
Yeah, 100%. The 4/4 knight set for O3. I mean, I have a knight with Escutcheon, Divinity, Gladguard, and Cranium, and it's definitely one of my favorite classes to play. It's beyond broken. When you're Godland farming, you just blow everything up. When you're doing
Right.
endgame dungeons, you have a high amount of defense. You have some extra speed. You have like 14 extra speed from your set. So I'm running around a knight with 65 speed almost. Really high defense, really high DPS because my attack and my dex are off the fucking charts.
As much as I bash on Escuchon because of how broken it is, I will say I'm glad that they gave the knight a DPS option for his shield, unlike Ogmer, where in a solo versus group play, right? Like, of
Hmm.
course, if you're in a group, you're going to use Ogmer depending on where you are. Um, but then, of course, like if you're doing something like Septavius, at least you have that item that can just delete the boss.
I
Because
mean,
Ogmer's
even
not going to do it unless you're in like a group of 20 people. Once again, it's situational. It just depends on if you have a bunch of people with you.
even then, Ogmer and Pogmer, kind of nice, but I'm pretty sure that over that Esku plus Gemstone is like meta on Knight right now because it's an absurd amount of damage. You get a longer stun than even Scutum for the MP cost, and it has this massive AoE where it comes down, where you can just stun a group of enemies very consistently. It's just better than every shield in the game. There's no reason to use any other shield if you have Esku. I wouldn't even use Ogmer. I think if you have a gemstone and an Esku, you're doing more damage to a boss than Ogmering it.
Do you think that that is the same case if you do something like? Because looking at all things like the mini bosses for Oryx, right, I've noticed that Luke Oryx, despite being a priest, has 60 defense, which is, I think, the highest out of any of the four bosses. I don't know why he has it, but I'd make an argument for that one if you're in a big enough group where Ogmer could see bigger DPS there, just because everyone is slamming that boss now for as if he's not wearing anything.
Do you think seasons will keep you playing like long term?
You know, I like the seasonal mode. At first, when I read it, I thought it was going to be something a little different. At first, I thought it was going to be like you're like Iron Man, right? Like you're on your own. Um, at first, I thought there might not even be any pets, which excited me. Um, I really did think it was just going to be a you're by yourself. Like, obviously, you're playing with others, but you can't trade at all. But it turned out to be more like a you're with a different group of people. So I could still trade you if you're on a seasonal and give like you can give me stuff and I can give you stuff. I feel like seasonal probably wouldn't be the thing to keep me. I still plan on playing long term, but that wouldn't be the thing to keep me. I think if they had a different mode for it, like a hardcore, kind of like where you cannot trade, like you are on your own. Um, and if they wanted to take it a step further with this hardcore where you can't use a pet, that could keep me because then that would feel like I was playing Old Realm again. Um, just in a different sort of mode. Of course, Old Realm you could trade, but this would be like an extra challenge, which I would love. Like it would be cool if you did that and your name was like a hot pink or something.
Yeah, just like an Iron Man mode.
Yeah,
You have like Iron Man's, hardcore Iron Man's, and then I guess seasons would be more comparable to leagues, right?
yeah. Because yeah, it's more similar to leagues. And in RuneScape, you've got Iron Man, which just means you can't trade with other people. It doesn't matter who, you just can't do it. Hardcore is that you can't trade with other people, but when you die, you're dead for good, which Realm already has. But for this one, the hard could be that you can't have a pet. So that'd be even harder. And then Ultimate in RuneScape is that, and people hate this one. Even I hate Ultimate Iron Man because of what it is. But you know how much bank space you have in RuneScape, right?
Yeah,
Like
you can't use your bank,
no
and
bank.
you can only use notes.
Right. So you can't use a bank at all. You can only use notes, and you can't trade with other people. It is it is a different sort of game for a different sort of people.
Yeah, you have to plan out your pathing for your skills a lot more
Yeah.
efficiently. And then, managing inventories. I've never done one, but I imagine notes play a major part in transitioning certain skills.
Yeah, from what I've seen, they definitely do. And you can also get like a looting bag in that game where if you go into the wilderness, you can put stuff in it. So it's like an extra 28 inventory slots or something like that. But you always have to kind of be careful because someone could just kill you in the wilderness. It probably wouldn't
Yep.
happen, but it could.
And if you do, you lose your ultimate hardcore status, and then you just become an Iron Man, right?
Oh no, Ultimate Iron Man, you stay in Ultimate Iron Man. There is no hardcore Ultimate Iron Man, but
Oh,
you can make it up. Like some people have series on YouTube where they do hardcore Ultimate Iron Man where they just pretend like they're in hardcore.
that's fair. It's a way of going about it.
Yeah. Ultimate Iron Man though, you do lose everything when you die. Like you it doesn't you can go back to pick it up, but like if you like die from PvP and someone decides they're taking everything, you do lose everything. It's like you're skulled.
Yeah. Isn't there another thing where you can't pay death to hold your best items?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. They have so many workarounds for that stuff. Like you pretty sure you can't pay death. Like they've basically made it so you can't do that sort of thing. But they have made it so that certain coffers, like I think it's called a Zora bank, like if you die to a certain boss that has a person that holds the items for you, you can do that and make that like a
Yeah,
semi bank.
like safe deaths.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Like I said, I Ultimate Iron Man's cool. It's not exactly something I love.
Can imagine. I mean, it sounds like an inconvenience for the sake. Like I can see how people would like the challenge of going around it because some people are just into that. It's the same people who like speed. Like Loki's been super into like speed running Mario Kart for a long time, and now he's doing Minecraft. And it's just like there's a certain way people like going about a game. Different. Like instead of just I'm gonna hit the Ender Dragon or whatever. It kind of becomes I need to get a really good world. I need to get good at like doing bastion runs really efficiently, like knowing exactly like which blocks I'm hitting, and you know, it's not my personal interest, but I can see how people would really like that.
Yeah, no, Loki loves his speed running. I can't do it. I wouldn't want to, but I know Loki loves speed running like multiple games.
Yeah, to each their own. I can see the enjoyment 100%.
Yeah,
Back to Realm though, seasons. I wish there was a little bit more to seasons than just like I've been enjoying it a lot just because I can, for classes that I'm already like fucking huge on, like my knight and my sorcerer. I don't really want to make a seasonal for it, but for ones I don't play as much, like I died on my huntress recently, so I don't have a lot for it. So I was like, I'll make a seasonal huntress. I already got void bow. I'm gonna craft a vile spirit trap here pretty soon, which will make it like pretty stacked up. I have the honey snare tomb and honey tomb snare, whatever it's called.
I can't
Um,
remember. It's a good one though. Slow is just such a great status affliction on enemies.
no, seasons are great. I just wish there was a little bit more to them. Like for me, I'm halfway through the battle pass. I'm 70% through the battle pass already, and it's only been like 3 days. Um, but I'm like halfway through it in terms of experience. Like I have like 300,000, and I think the last tier is like 650,000. And I wish there was a little bit more there, so it doesn't feel like, oh well, I'm just playing on seasonal now.
Right.
Maybe like an overflow thing for battle passes would be kind of nice, where I just like get an extra epic quest chest or something, or a couple backpacks.
Yeah, oh yeah, backpacks is a thing in seasonal that I wish there was a lot more of. It sucks to play with 8 inventory slots. I've mentioned this before, but it is awful when you have what like 2 swap outs and then you have 6 in total slots for
Mm-hmm.
stat pots and items, and you're basically forced to drop them for other
Yeah,
ones.
I mean, you get the one seasonal backpack from the missions, and then you just gotta pray to God that whatever event or whatever chest is going on right now has a backpack, and if it doesn't, well, you're kind of fucked until you can find one. You can buy one if you want to. I don't really want to. I
Right.
don't feel like it's fair on a seasonal, as well as I also don't want to spend gold on a backpack. When was the last time I did that?
This is probably going to be controversial or like something that people don't agree on, or maybe
Here we
that
go.
made only Deca. But I think every character should just inherently have a backpack. I think that 16 slots is fantastic. That's even that is like a little over what half of what RuneScape gives you.
Yo, hold on. Hold on. That is facts, though. That
I
is facts.
like I feel like 16 should just be the norm. Like if they want to sell something else, like the adventures belt for a third thing, or like something to hold pots, sure. But I think that 16 should just be the standard. Like it's too 8 is just so small. It's way too low.
Nah, let my man cook. I really like that.
Backpack should just be inherent with every character. I know that might I but then again, I don't who is buying backpacks? Like I feel like most people get them through like either events or other means. Like I feel like most people with backpacks haven't gotten them because they've bought them specifically. It's too
Maybe,
much gold. 100?
yeah. Yeah, no, maybe it's on the way. I mean, yeah, like that's like, you could buy two backpacks or you could buy a Lost Hell ski, which is going to give you more value. Probably the Lost Hell ski because you could just get backpacks from the daily quests, from the events, from the battle pass and rewards, and there's a ton of places you can get backpacks from.
Right.
So there's no need to buy them, at least for most people. For some people, maybe, because I've accumulated a lot of backpacks over time, and with the rate that I've been dying, I'm actually down to like my last five in my main vault.
How that's another thing that I've thought of. Greater pots should not take up two spaces in the potion vault. It just shouldn't. There's no
They
reason
shouldn't.
for them to. It's stupid that they do. Plus, I feel like certain to a degree, I think that certain stat pots should be stackable in your inventory, like three maybe. Like you can store three decks, three def, three attack. Just stack them in your
Yeah,
inventory. That just
I gotta agree.
anything that could speed up gameplay, because then that at least gives some leeway, right? If I want to do sprite worlds and I want to grind out sprite worlds, like five, like let's say five is the total, right? I take a deck spot. I take another deck spot, two. Take another, three. But instead of it taking up three inventory slots, it's one.
I wanna go back to that thing you were talking about earlier, where you said like instead of a backpack, we have like a backpack for potions exclusively. Because that's what I thought adventures belts were. Because it said like
Yeah.
to store extra potions, and I was so excited for that. Because as someone who grinds a lot in the Godlands, doing solo content or just like running UDLs trying to get a Doombow, I would really appreciate something like a little potion backpack where you put like 16, you go back to your vault and just empty it.
How happy would you be if you bought a potion, like a potion belt, and there's a third menu and it shows like two, like it shows four rows of two, attack, defense, all that, and whenever you get a potion from a boss, you can just drag it into that, and it's now one out of like let's say I don't know five, and you can just take five of each before you have to basically go back to your vault and store them.
I would definitely pay 100 gold for that.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
I
I'd pay
also
100 gold for that.
it's such a big quality of life thing. It, I'd say 100 gold, but like here's the thing. I'll give them the backpack thing if they give me that for free, right?
Sure.
Like if they get as long because that's the big issue. If they give me the potion storage for free, sure, then backpacks you can keep them the way they currently are. But just give us some way to where we're not constantly having to go back to the vault because that slows down gameplay a lot. And not only does it slow down gameplay a lot, but it also makes it so that if you're on like 5 rems and you're now sitting outside in a 16-person queue pissed off because you had to go back because now you're just completely full, well, it sucks. It sucks having to deal with that every time.
It really does. It's hit me so many times because when you're just normally farming the Godlands, you don't even notice when that thing drops from 15 to 8.
Right.
And then as soon as it hits 8, like the queue just gets tremendously long. And
It
it's
gets
kind of becomes
big.
a coin flip. Like, okay, there's 60 out of 85 people in the realm. Do I risk it, run to my potion vault, and then find a 20 queue here?
Right. It's like you just don't know unless you have like a friend or something that can tell you if there's a queue outside. You don't know.
It's always Goodman. It's always Goodman.
Yeah.
Can I
So
leave here? And then Goodman's like, bro, I'm like, it's 15 in queue, bro.
Goodman's high constantly. I really think he's in a constant state of just tripping.
Oh god.
I
That's
love
why,
Goodman, dude.
yeah, that's why I love him.
But yeah, it's just something I've said for like ages. In fact, I think I mentioned that exact thing like before where I'm like, just give us something where we can just hold the stat pots because that's been one of my biggest issues for years. That you have way too low of an inventory slot holdage to be able to just keep all those pots. It slows down gameplay a lot, and that's one of my biggest gripes all the time is figuring out what slows down my game. Invulnerability timers on bosses, stat pots going in the inventory, like all this kind of stuff just adds up.
You can
Trading
make it
in US
happen.
West.
You can make it happen. Make a video on it. Deca steals the idea.
Yeah.
We
It's
profit. Like,
I wish I'm sure there's a bunch of people like this, but like I wish I could at least like talk to Deca about these ideas and see if they've even like thought about it. I'm sure they have, but just them implementing it, it's like, sorry man, we're working on a I don't know, Moonlight Village Electric Boogaloo Part 2. Like it's like I do like I said, I love these new dungeons. I think some of them are fantastic, but I really think that some stuff just needs to be worked on before they come out with new dungeons. As much as I love them, I think quality of life stuff like that is just too important.
hey, you know what? The realm rework is going to be huge. I'm super excited for that.
Yeah, it does look really big. I hope that turns out to be good.
I'm so sick of the current realm. I'm so down for beacons so that I can play in a solo realm without having to, somebody's gone from there. Okay, I'm going to have to run to Godlands and it's going to take me like 60 seconds to make it back to the Godlands because I want to do this Sprite World or the Snake Pit. I don't have to play in a realm that has 70 people anymore. I don't have to go into a realm with 30 people, see that they're all in O2 or O3 and get disappointed that I can't get to Godland, so I go somewhere else.
Yeah, I also like that idea that they have where what is it? Apparently, it's instead of you having to clear all these events, it's just you do a bunch of stuff and the Oryx meter fills basically. So instead of you having to go around killing 10 liches that you don't want to kill, because no one does unless they're looking for like a soul bearer, um, or soulless robe, at least you can just fill up that gauge and just keep getting them mad, and just by killing random stuff.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I especially like the idea of an advanced Godlands, because how they said it would work is the normal Godlands will be kind of like the current one, except events will spawn in the Godlands exclusively instead of like the mid and lowlands, so you don't have to run across the map for them anymore. And then what's going to happen is event gods are also going to spawn in the more difficult Godlands. For sake of
Mm.
argument, I'll say like Sakura Forest or whatever it was called, whatever they called the biome. So you're going to have them spawn there, and it's going to give you a harder version of the Cogbolt, a harder version of the UEL, which give more rewards but are more difficult in their own rights. New phases, more damage, more HP, more defense, stuff like that.
Yeah,
I
that'll
am,
be cool to have a UDL where you can't just rush through it.
yeah, I'm really excited for it. And I'm also excited for the fact that they said that events wouldn't be like they are now. It's not going to be like fucking one Lord of the Lost Lands, and if you wanted an ice cave, well, piss off. It's going to be
Right.
more like you're going to spawn these events. There's probably going to be a trigger for them or something, but you can effectively farm Lost Halls by going to a realm, doing whatever tasks it wants you to do, and then the Lost Entry comes up.
I think I think the Rome rework along with shiny items are two of the best updates that are gonna have come out into this game for a long time. Like
Seasons as well. I really enjoy seasonals.
season is fantastic. They just need to add more versions of it, in my opinion. I love
Yeah,
seasonal. They just like I said, make the version where you can't trade with people, and then maybe the version where you can't trade people with no pets.
you know
Like
it.
that.
It makes sense where it is at. They're on the right path. It just needs a little bit more, but
It
they did
needs
a great
more, yeah.
job with it in the first place. So I'm happy about it. It just, yeah, it needs more to it than just what it has right now, but I'm sure that'll come with time. I'm just happy to have it out in the first place instead of having to wait another fucking year for this stuff, because they did rifts like 4 years ago and it took them this long to get seasonals out, which is just rifts, but better executed.
You know,
So I'm sure they'll start working on it.
they could have it right because you'd want to at least have some incentive to play these like harder modes. They could have it to where you're earning 1 times BXP whenever you're playing a normal seasonal, and then if you're playing one that can't trade, it's like that'd be cool if there was like toggles and you could keep making it harder depending on the toggles, and then if you like if you like let's say you start off like the invocation system with raids 3. Are you familiar with that
No.
in RuneScape? So the way that RuneScape has it set up, which people thought was amazing, and I agree, is that the raid starts off at level 0 and it goes up to 500. Well, the way that you raise up the invocation is that each time you toggle something to make the raid harder, it goes up. And depending on how hard that thing is, it goes up by more. So there's a way to make the final boss very hard, and it gives you 50 points. Well, so that's 50 points more. Another 50 points, that's 100. Once you get to 150, it's now considered a normal level difficulty, whereas 0's like introduction. At 300, it becomes expert. They could do something like that with Realm, where they keep making these toggles that make stuff harder. Like you take 10% more damage from enemies. Now that's like worth 30 points. Like you take however much, like you now have this affliction. This gives you 20 points. Like, and keep making it. So like you add all these toggles and now you're at like this like expert mode seasonal, but you get more BXP because you've added more and maybe like a slight higher chance of rare items. So like instead of the 1 times BXP you'd be making on a normal one, because you have all these toggles and hindrances, you're now making like 2.2 times more BXP than you normally would on like this master mode difficulty. Now it's like 2.5 times.
I think that's already where it's going with individual dungeons. I think I think it's a good idea for seasonals. I think it should just be. I think drop rates are definitely a good one, or like extra loot bags, because extra loot bags, like when you do hard mode for like Umi and stuff, they feel like tangible. Like you're like, oh, I got 2 chances at like a white instead of where you have like a 1.5 times increase. Like even when you know when you use a loot drop and you get like a blue bag and you're like, what was even the point?
Yeah,
Because there's no tangible difference.
right. Whereas this one would be like you just, because even like what hard mode Moonlight just says you are pet stasis, which is kind of like what an invocation would be, right? It's just
Yeah.
it's just a thing that hinders you, but because it's hindering you, you get a bonus. Like that would be cool if just depending on how many hindrances you get more bonuses. But obviously the game gets very hard to play, and that's like a fine that lets you at least differentiate the boys from the men. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Because you should be rewarded with playing like this very difficult mode. You should be given like this cool stuff for playing very hard. You shouldn't be showered with stuff, obviously, but at least you'd get like little bonuses that make you want to play these harder modes.
Yeah, and just incentives.
Right.
It's all what it comes down to is that it's an MMORPG game, so they just have to add incentives, like incentives to run with guilds, incentives to not run with discords, incentives to run seasonals on harder modes. You know, it's all this stuff that they have to add like a proper and balanced reward system to, which I can see how like can be difficult. Because like the Umi one, I feel like is fair, or like not the Moonlight one. You know, 2 chances at whites. If you do Umi, well, have fun, man.
Yeah. Umi is
It's
just
just like 2 full ass bags for doing a hard Umi. Like, yeah, that better be double the chance.
yeah. Umi. I love that boss fight, but holy crap, dude.
I don't think Battle Pass XP boosters are worth it at all either. I feel like the Battle Passes get cleared pretty fast by people like us who play a lot.
Yeah, no, they're definitely not necessary by any means. They're just there to
Yeah.
pay whatever. I think that they've got a good thing going where if you're like a continuous buyer, they're cheaper because of the coupons. So it's cool to only be able to spend like $5 and have an entire battle pass, which even I've been doing because I want to support the game. So
Same.
like and get that bonus stuff. So it's I don't mind paying the $5. I just hope that $5 is being put to good use.
I hope so too. Well, it's like a little side thing with extra rewards. Like I don't mind dropping $5 for like just a little bit of extra loot and a little something for my time, you know.
Right.
But I think battle passes definitely need a little bit more something. If they're going to
Yes.
be like a long-term solution with seasons, like the way that they're paired with seasons, great. But it's not making anyone play on seasonal if they can just play on their night, do like 10 fame cults, and then complete the battle pass. It's like, what was even the point in like the 10% boost on playing on seasonal?
Right.
There needs to be proper incentive for playing on seasonal in the first place, because there honestly isn't incentive besides people's own enjoyment in the game. I enjoy seasonals. I love to do them. It feels like doing like it feels like playing Old Realm again, like I'm starting from scratch. I really like it. But for people who don't like that type of gameplay, there's no real incentive. 10% Battle Pass XP is not enough for anyone.
Yeah, I think most people right now play seasonal just for the missions and the shinies. Which I don't think the shinies should be limited to seasonal, but that's just a whole nother argument. I don't like but I do like that they give you a little bit of extra stuff for shinies or for seasonal. Sorry, I know where my brain is.
Yeah. It's just I don't know, it's a little bit of a different ball. I love it though. I've been enjoying cuz last season I got a cult skull and one of the cults that Goodman and I did, and I think Kate was there. But from that point on, it really didn't like grow because there wasn't much else to get. I've actually been enjoying Ninja more because there's more whites I can get that like increase my enjoyment of gameplay.
Right.
That's one of the things I'll give it. Because Necro kind of just like, I got Cult Skull, okay, what else? I can get tier 13 staff, I guess. I can get O3 tops, but I didn't get a single fucking O3 white or top on my seasonal last season, and I got to 15k base fame. So I'm trying again with this ninja. So far I got an Avarice, so I might just make a seasonal trickster.
It's so funny the amount of people I see that are like, "Oh yeah, Oryx 3 is really generous with the whites," and I'm just like, I'm not seeing it. I wish I knew what that felt like. Only recently did that start showering me a little bit because I got the 2 horns in Divinity, but that was not always the case. Like I was getting blue after blue after blue, and it's just insane that sometimes that luck can run real dry and sometimes it can bless you. But I I cannot remember the last time I got an Escuchin or a glided guard. It's been a
Yeah,
long time.
one of the big ones, one of the ones that feels real good. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I'm kind of happy with Avarice, but I really wish that I got like Turncoat Cape or something I could use in the classes I play. Because honestly, I don't want to make another Trickster. I don't want to play that class. I already
Right.
have a stacked up Assassin, so I don't really want to like have two of them.
Yeah.
And my rogue's already pretty popping. It's got Cedar and Bloody Cloak,
Surprised you even
Hoppy,
made
and
one. Knowing you.
I was forced to. I was forced to. I got a Bloody Cloak, and there's no other option.
Yeah, that's a good point. I kind of, man, how cool would it be to finally have event white shinies?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Like, dude,
People still wouldn't go for events though.
no, they want to. Like a shiny Augmer. I don't even know how you would make that. The sprite already is just so perfect. I'm sure they'd find a way though.
They
It's
did it with Divinity, and the sprite already looks pretty good.
That's true. Divinity sprite looks sick. That's like the shiny one looks really sick. Even the standard one looks sick. Like that sword is just great. I kind of I wish that they had come out with more than 4 shinies this season.
Yeah, it's really disappointing.
I was
Hoping for
expecting a big list because they noticed it was so well received. I figured that they were gonna make like this big like, dude, 50 more items have gotten shinies, and then I saw 4 and I was like, well, okay.
I was hoping for one for Celestial Blade, but here I am wanting.
Yeah, instead we got it for items which I don't even think most people use. Prot maybe, Beekeeper, Flamethrower. I don't even have one. I've never even seen one. It looks cool. I don't know how practical it is.
At least
Um,
people use Parasite Scepter, but they didn't change anything for that besides the sprite, and the sprite actually looks worse.
yeah, from what I've heard, yeah, I looked at it. I think it's okay, but it's definitely not like I would have a hard time recognizing if it's a shiny at first.
Yeah. I guess the same thing goes for the Planewalker, but you know what? Give me that shiny divinity. That thing looks so cool in blue.
Yeah, I think all the O3 shinies looks like Lumi, Superior, all that stuff. I love every single one of them.
Does Avarice have one?
Yes, it's the pink one. It's not
I
gold, it's pink.
I need to check mine because I've actually this is my first Avarice, so I don't know if it's shiny or not. I
Was it
probably should have
gold?
checked. I don't know. I don't remember. I'll take a look at it after this podcast. We've been running for like an hour and a half, so we could probably call it here.
Yeah, well, I know that Josh is gonna fatally stab me, so I guess we could.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to the Deca Debrief podcast. We'd like to thank our patrons. If you'd like to email us with inquiries, our email is contact@decadebrief.com. Shout out to DJ Quan, who produced our intro and outro music. And thank you to our guest, Yen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yep, not a problem, Bubsy the Bobcat. You know where to find me. I will always be lounging about and playing this game that we love.
It's always the same thing with you. You always say Bubsy the Bobcat.
It'll never leave. It's just